You are now listening to part 4 of The Whispering Willows. Let us continue toward the conclusion of this journey.
The Voyage of the Sea Rat. From and in the harbours of Pen Vales and Valley of the great mangy ferocious sea tiger cat, and into the gallipot of blue ink and turpentine so often painted its slick oil paints canvas. The buccaneers, the Bay of Lombardy or Barbary, the Bay of Tuscany's set sail the sun-smiling seafarer, water-ratty with oars and sculls, sails and masts, to win the hand of his water-rat bride, Abigail Cleopatra. Gushing rosy and roots so coyly, he gritted the grin with bear and stump. He flitted the moon with oar and hump. He settled the star with cross and crown, and won the fair hand of the Princess Barbaturi, Abigail Cleopatra. A king from Barbary and queen from Tuscany, scurrying up to his arms and rat tails in his tuxedo 2 tails, he grinned as coyly as the bride exchanged vows and rings. By the solemn church priest's side, all the ranting and ravings of the collar birds who took off greener pastures by migrating, even the carnivores and herbivores, waiters of the undergrowth, waiting for summer to dawn again, who settled in their underground holes for hibernation amidst the farms and pasturage, church and vicarage, and wayfarers all. And ships ahoy! Band of buccaneers, crew of sea captains, a bevy of boisterous sailors and beautiful ladies, a bevy of famous tars of fairy ferries, till all was quiet in the valley of whispers and murmurs of the tooth and tail, buggles, beagle dogs and beavers, honey bears and monkeys, now the guests of seafarer rat's wedding in the gallipot of blue turpentine, the sea and sea ink, varnished the toes of his new shy bride, Abigail Cleopatra, with rings and bells on her scruff and golden earrings for the groom. Now should they now sing a sea scroll song to hoist a sea flag, or buy a new handy paintbrush to paint blue ink from a turpentine gallipot, the sea so blue on a blue ship with masts and sails, away his height to the Gallipoli Peninsula, along with his beautiful bride, Abigail Cleopatra, on a frosted cake with circles, ribbons, icing swirls, made of marchpane and sprinkles of quins, sugar pearls and silver draggies.
Then he stopped scribbling in his journal to pick up his paintbrush from the ground, whistling away happily to paint the walls that he had left unfinished. So sweetly, abandoning his cares in whispers, chatters and murmurs, he often spoke to himself, squealing and squeaking about his bright talents and house-like chores. He yet had a lot to finish. Mending, painting, scrubbing, stitching and writing poetry. Many a times felt at a loss of words to describe such gratifying hard work. For a few whitewashing splashes of lovely paint and streaks up the ceiling in his cozy underworld, Molly End. Mr. Toady in a hole. Mr. Toad, finally awakening from his stupor-like sleep, for a moment hallucinated and dreamed that he was in Toad Hall Mansion, as cold as could be, waking up freezing hands and feet in his chamber, calling out to the servants and maids to carry a warm blanket and light up the cozy toasty furnace. Then he awakened from his bright-lit fairy dream to blinding reality. Feet, hands and face all numb, cold and freezing. He realized he was laced inside a burrow of a rabbit filled with dead twigs, bracken, leaves and in a mess from head to foot. Now stretching his aching arms and legs, he sprinted and began to hop on his feet, hoping to catch someone who could give him a ride home. Soon he sauntered along the bushy hedgerows. he came across the rippling waters of the riverside of Soda Inlet Bay and stooped to see from afar under the canal bridge a stowaway burlesque mountain of a badger woman holding a blue-dotted umbrella on a boat. He yelled to the huge burlesque badger woman, maybe a nanny of Frankenstein, to wait up for him, limping with his bedraggled dress, scarf and hood, like a toil-worn, ragged old wreck, soggy and dripping. A freshet with heavy downpour of rains and howling winds flooded the river. He stood looking askance at the immense boulder of the strange badger woman before him, and stood by the edge of the riverside, upon his 1 foot in the swelling waters, contemplating like a ballet stalk pirouette on one leg, how to approach such a monstrous badger of a woman, as big as a washing stone stooge of comedy. He finally dragged himself and his wet dress as he struggled through the flooded river, pinching it high above his knees, wading through the rushing waters, with his flowery apron and daintily bowing a curtsy, introduced himself to the huge manly stowaway badger woman of the motorboat.
Hello there, my dear. Would you be so kind enough to let me off next stop to the end, opposite the Dahlia Windmills, Juliana Toad Hall Mansion? I'm a washerwoman and I'm used to surf and rough-tide detergents like these on the canal trips. Could you do me a favor and help me? I have to get to my old hubby and poor grandchildren in time.
Then he added another.
And my poor married daughter, she has no one to look after her since her husband went after a weasel.
Patronizing her like a butter on a scone, trying to be as kind and humble like a very civilized toad washerwoman. It didn't do much to win over her approval, and eyeing him thoroughly from head to toe, the bossy stout badger woman, who loved to bully animals like poor Mr. Toady, replied like a cantankerous old fossil of an immense rodent.
Well, only if you could show me how you can wash that big load off my back.
And removing a bundle from her bag, displayed the contents. There were 3 great bed sheets, 5 towels and 7 pillowcases, 25 napkins, 2 uniforms and a blanket, all from a hotel she worked at.
I suppose I could if you tried to give me a chance sloshing washing.
Toady grimaced, whispering to himself.
Oh dear good heavens, she is a washerwoman herself. What the devil have I got myself into?
The bullish-faced badger woman soon suspected it was none other than the handsome, charming, distinguished owner of the Toad Hall Mansion, but acted as if she didn't know who he was. This she did to pun the funny creature. She showed no respect at all for the educated Mr. Toady of Toad Hall, and said hooliganishly,
Show me if you can be a better washerwoman than me. Only then can I oblige you with a favor as that, Mrs. Washerwoman.
Toady, disgruntled and upset by her rude behavior and totally innocent of a suspicious nature, accepted the wondrous challenge. Then the loutish old stubborn bull-headed woman removed soap brush and a baton to pound, scrub and wash the linen in a bucket on the little motorboat she owned. Staring at poor Mr. Toady twiddling all thumbs, he clumsily opened the soap packet and dropped the abstergent into the bucket. The detergent started bubbling like bubbles blown from a bubble bottle, circling great sputters all around poor Toady. A great big bubble bath. He began to vigorously scrub soap and use the baton to pound, but missed aim. Every time he tried scrubbing, then batons, beatings and washings, soap got to his eyes along with big teardrops rolling down his cheeks. And there was soap, abstergent and salt everywhere, just like high teas and high-tide detergents. Angry and viciously mad at the scruffy old witch to put him through such an agony, the abstergent flew in great bubbles all around the bucket. He just couldn't get a hang at the baton with his soapy fingers. making poor Mr. Toady even more disappointed and annoyed, almost slipping like a Dane slip-a-lot, head over heels and heels over his giddy head. Totally bonkers, he thought he had turned into a fool-up sturgeon, handling soap suds and washing baton, to hammer the grime and dirt stuff called washing dirty linen in public. He was most surprised that he was being watched all the time by the roguish woman who, breaking out into a spell of thunderously humorous claps and guffaws, shooting daggers at him, remarked insultingly, letting out all his secrets of his skeletons in the closet.
I knew what you knew. I knew already before you knew what I knew.
Explaining to him wickedly humor in a gross bumpkin manner.
You were none other than Mr. Toady of Dole Hall Mansion. Not at all the washerwoman you put up to be. A swell soapy act. I swear I will put you in the lock-up again. I heard that you car-snatched. Your mad passion for road racing. Oh, wait till I fry your curls and squeeze you dry, till you cop up a good wallet of green dollars, or else squeeze a wheezy, a jailbird to be in, a washerwoman wishy-washy prison. You should learn by now, no one in the world can beat my washing Tide detergent skills with my baton pounder and tub.
Mr. Toad was taking none of her riff-raff, shiff-shaff behavior and stunned her gruesomely, waving out absurdly the baton in the air as if to pound it on her head. He retorted angrily,
Don't you try to act smart with me, old natty crook. I'll teach you a lesson.
Before you could say Jack Robinson, he turned the steering wheel of the motorboat, and since he was so experienced to drive his dainties on motor rides, the motorboat propelled out its horsepower outboard motor in the riverside at full speed. He maneuvered helm of the car motorboat, sailing the currents at such an alarming rate that the whole world turned topsy-turvy. The woman almost swallowed her heart in her stomach, screaming and yelling out at Mr. Toady.
Stop at once, you rascal Toad! I shall have you arrested soon! Stop, I say!
The boat was above the sky and the sky turned below the sea. The boat capsized into the waters, and Mr. Toady just in time managed to paddle his way to the river bank. Splashing and stroking his arms from side to side, he swam madly, as a quick swimmer would, swimming fastly to the river bank destination in his washerwoman garb. Then, seeing a lovely young horse waiting right at the spot on the river bank without his owner, he correctly guessed belonged to the mountain of Barracuda, Badger washerwoman. Mr. Toady quickly sat upon it, and pulling the reins made good his escape, away from the shrew of a Badger washerwoman. Now head to tail deep in troubled rivers, whilst the horse began to wildly gallop, run, and then slowly began to walk, click-clocking its hooves a little mile away, till it bowed down its young head and began to graze in the meadows with cowslips and honeysuckles, peeking through every nook and cranny. At last, Mr. Toady dismounted from the horse, and holding the horse by the rope, started walking towards a gypsy caravan. His dress and flowery apron had dried off. The brilliant sunshine overhead, he soon reached a clearing in the middle of the wild woods, where sat an old beaver, a gypsy by trade, and held a fairy meerschaum pipe, from which he blew out smoke at intervals like magical puff rings over Mr. Toady, the frantic washerwoman. Wishing to be in his cozy mansion once again, pulling himself together, decided to ask the old gypsy beaver for some help. He had a huge pot bubbling over a firewood, and the smell that arose from it was so delicious, filling the empty spaces of the butterflies in very old Mr. Toady's hungry stomach. He had to taste some of the melting magic pots too, and so he sat near the old gypsy beaver, hoping to chat him up.
Oh dear,
said Mr. Toad.
So much of work to do for a poor washerwoman. work for my old husband, my grandchildren, and my poor married daughter. She has no one for her, since her husband went after a weasel."
The gypsy had no expression on his chubby face. Tweaking his whiskers, he said,
What if you sell that young horse, washerwoman? $1 a leg and a hoof. For the youthful beast I would offer."
Mr. Toady thought and resolved that there would be no better bargain than this. Then wrangling, he went on.
"Only $4 for 4 legs and 4 hooves. I'll make it $6.04. If your answer is no, I'll save it for my customer I am acquainted with, who lives right at the Vendham by the curve of the forest. He would offer me at least $10 for that youthful, dreamy mare."
Mr. Toad invented it all in his wise old head, for he hadn't even a cent in his pockets. This was the only way to earn a few dimes and dollars. The gypsy beaver went inside his tent and brought out the money. Then turning it into Mr. Toady's hands, he sulked and said to Toad,
"I couldn't afford it really. That type of money to make would take a whole month. We gypsies are fond of horse trading. Well, anyway, this is all I could offer you, and some of my broth too."
Today couldn't be happier than words could express to the kind old soul and his soul pot. The old gypsy beaver returned to his caravan tent and fetched from inside a large bowl with a silver spoon. Then pouring the magic broth into it, Mr. Toady smelled rabbits, pheasants, turkeys, cows, geese, pigs, duck, partridge, pigeon, mutton and lamb, all brewing up his magical cauldron pot on the stout handle at the very top of a firewood. After a warm bowl of scrumptious broth in the humble dwelling in the midst of the blundering thicket, he squalled like a baby and wept like a toad tears for joy, then waved the gypsy beaver a goodbye. He composed a ditty on Mr. Toady the Great and his perils.
Mr. Toady the Great. Mr. Toady the Great and all of history books, his spate of adventures to relate would definitely be a crime. Fairy tale, fiction or fantasy aside, from his primitive life at the Toad Hall Mansion, dated 1765. His great-great-great-grand-uncle, Mr. Doodiana Little Toad of the Doodiana Mansion, and all the doodallings, queens and kings, countesses and counts, vampire toad dragons of long before, and his darling vampire toad Countessa Bride-to-be, Sugar Plum Totty Grimwald in the present world. Even though grim circumstance, he had learned to profess true love and date with fangs. A flick with slick oil tongues, bottleneck wasps, spur-throated flies of cowboys called buzz of buzzybots, ruzzle-dazzle bugs called hums of humbugs, and a strange case swarm of Hollywood bees, buzz, 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 hard to swallow. Family of buzzers and hummers we call flies, and family ties. Good riddance to all hog-washing, ballyhoo, water sloshing. Now passing history through Oxford University, the dignified and distinguished student pupil, well extinguished Mr. Toad, had fallen in love at first sight with the parent's daughter. Now, through hard crimes, you would find easy to define car snatching, road rages, racing and hammering, smashing, swinging, bellboring, with washing batons. He emerged a victorious knight, hounded, grounded, even pounded by policemen, detectives, gaolers, foxes, dogs and cats. The stiff and bleak story of Mr. Toady. The learned and the distinguished man, now through surf and tide detergents, through rivers and boats, catamarans he owned by dozens. He made his way in history of Oxford Dictionary of Oxford, Great Britain, and through pages flipped American Encyclopedia. Mr. Toad from family Buffoniti, the brave and dignified, the riff-raff even shift-shaft, the simple yet complicated, he put on a swell soap act and polished washwoman. The smart and sometimes petrified, bold, cold, daring Mr. Toad and his perils. Hooray! Yippee! Yahoo!
Further, after blabbering his proud stanza on bold Mr. Toad in his good books as good as glittering gold, he found out he was soon just a kilometer away from Doodiana Mansion. As he neared the path along the fringe lip of the highway, he recognized the Blue Whale Inn, the same spot he car-snatched and limb-shitty Bodkins. He caught sight of the same handsome buggy gaining speed by his side. Mr. Toady started sweating and worrying. Oh dear, soon these creatures will recognize the car snatcher, prison breaker chased by police dogs, dodged by trains, hounded, pounded and frowned by magnifying classes of detectives, guns, revolvers and truncheons. Oh, be gone. I shall have to live in the squalid dungeon of a hole and live on water and dry bread. Save me, save my soul. He whimpered and he cried to himself, but all was not lost, till the owners mistook his identity as the simpleton washerwoman, not the strikingly dashing Django Mr. Toady of Toad Hall Mansion, who one day had car-snatched their handsome car, had him arrested and imprisoned in a gaol, but now mistaking Toady as the little washerwoman, trudged slowly along the sunshine path they thought was a poor thing deserving to be given a good ride to her workplace. And calling out to her, they said,
Wait up, you poor thing! We could drop you if you wish, to wherever you would like to be dropped. Come with us!
And made her sit right next to the driver's seat. A temptation poor Toady could hardly resist again. Then speaking happily, winking to her chivalrous saviors, she said, I have a half-baked idea to sit in the seat if you wouldn't mind and drive you. You would be surprised how it would turn. You'll ride a ride you'd never want ever to forget. A race driver like me. Chiding, he said, a poor little washerwoman. Remembering their revenge of making Mr. Toady suffer in the gruesome jail, like a jailbird, he donned toad wings to avenge with spite, to cap a good ounce of humor tightly and squeeze a good throttle over necks and engines. The good old phrase, revenge is bittersweet. Revenge is bittersweet indeed. As they unknowingly fell into his smooth honey trap of a slick, slimy, oily tongue and soon were flicked inside it like flies to a honey pot. Whence four, like his obedient passengers, allowed him to take care of the steer wheel, quite fancying how a washerwoman could handle to drive them from a bubble in a dream that turned to a skittish nightmare. They never wished to experience their whole blighted lives, however, managed to escape through a brush with a game of 9 skitties, race and war, you could say, over Toady's brushes with law, a skirmish that existed betwixt 2 toads, a weasel and a toad from Toad's Adams, all over a handsome car. And first Mr. Toady drove like a normal bean, and they were surprised at a washerwoman's skill at driving. But then he swerved the wheel and whoosh! Off he raced the car deep into the wild woods, screaming at his wrongdoers. It was me all the time, bold and brazen Mr. Toady of Toad Hall Mansion, the replica reincarnation of Mr. Juliana Little Toad, my great-great-great-grand vampire toad of an uncle. Far from police, from the gaoler, the bullish washerwoman who wished to gaol him again, the kind-souled gypsy beaver, and the golden buttercup fairy ferret little Gretel, he was thoroughly enjoying his car ride, with his guests inside slurring out vindictive oaths and promises he would regret, when suddenly the unexpected took place, and the car swerved into the tall bulrush pond. By the toad hills and toadstools, with all the creatures it carried, the wheels had totally flown the sky, along with the tires burned to carbon. The owners, 2 toads and a weasel, waving and flailing their hands wildly at Mr. Toady from their plunge inside a shallow pond. Mr. Toady jumping through the window, running, sprinting and hopping as fast as he could, spotted a toad in the hole, a hole big enough to let him inside, muddy and dark, filled with water, just sufficient. He slithered and slid into its open hole and swam right at the edge. then saw a little face wriggle from below, as brown and black as coal, sleek and shiny coat of moonshine whiskers and fur.
It couldn't be the water rat, Mr. Water Ratty, would it?
Toady wondered, hoping it was really true.
Yes,
Bubbled a voice from below the pond, inside the water rat or toad hole.
it's me.
Affirmed Water Ratty to poor little rich and happy Mr. Toad, and pulling him by the scruff of his neck, Mr. Water Ratty brought Mr. Toady to the edge of the bank, from his water rat hole end, where he lived. The wild wood creatures and the sly foxes tears like a summer tempest. Mr. Water Ratty then took poor Mr. Toady inside his neat and well-furnished rat hole. After lugging him out through the water rat hole like a bulky portmanteau of washerwoman, soaked and washed rolling on its wheels, that he slipped into after a good cry and good many a hugs over a cup of hot ginger tea and delicious blueberry scones, he made Toady first change his washerwoman attire into one of his crisp pajamas and carpet flip-flops, removing and hooking the old wet dress, hood, mittens, scarf and apron upon the clothes hanger. Mr. Toady related to him how, like a vampire toad, he spent his 3 months languishing in a dungeon cell, as bleak as a black hole, and then recounted his strange adventures.
And with the help of a blonde ferret of a young maiden, the helpful and wise daughter of the gaoler, pretty darling little Gretel, I took a bold risk, escaping my prison sentence much in advance, encountering the horrid legion of police, detectives, hounds, buggles, truncheons, revolvers and pistols. Even through the train tunnel, rough roads of the deep wild woods, its forest filled with sly foxes and querulous badger women. The kind old gypsy beaver my rides once again in a boat, won a young horse, and the same handsome car snatched.
He yelped a mad bark in frenzy of excitement as he continued to retell his great adventure.
At the strange water-logged burrow, where at last I hid after assuming the character of the washerwoman in her tatty long dress, flowery apron, hood, mittens and scarf. Here I am, Mr. Ratty, home at last.
Mr. Water Ratty, however, looked worried and fretted. But before Mr. Water Ratty let out the sorry secret of the wild wood creatures, the sly foxes and their mischief, he hesitated, as Mr. Toad looked so happy, wishing to spend the rest of his days not like the foolish toad he once was, after he confessed to Mr. Water Ratty.
I've changed, Water Ratty my friend, for the better. Now none of those car racing fevers or car snatching bouts do I suffer from. I've learned to handle tough situations and hope to outshine like my great-great-great-grand-uncle, Mr. Juliana Little Toad, carrying his torch as a beacon of light to all my friends of the wild woods.
Water Ratty didn't want to shy from what he had to say to Mr. Toad, and patting Mr. Toady on his back for his beautiful transformation, he brought out the grim matter before him.
Mr. Toady, alas, all's not well. As it may seem here in Juliana Mansion, the wild wood creatures, some of them, began to blame you for their misfortunes and said it was a good thing Mr. Toad has to learn a lesson. He always set a bad example, squandering away the wealth of his great-great-great-grand-uncle and all the toads, beavers, ferrets, weasel and rest of the few sly foxes, in fact most untrusting few members of the wild wood who had an eye on Juliana Mansion, decided to camp there. After all finally lay siege to your fortress, it was of no use for us 3 friends to confront those conniving crooks, 50 or 70 of them against us. They sent us all flying away with batons and their rifles as they shot curses in the air, blaming you and saying, Juliana Mansion is ours now, and was. So from the very day Mr. Toad was in prison, as we all had suspected with these conjuring foxes, vixens, toads, ferrets and weasels, one bad fruit spoils the others. Envy, jealousy and covetousness festering inside their black hearts.
Mr. Toady croaked and cried so much after hearing the sad story, almost tears as big and unpredictable as the summer's tempest.
A midsummer's horrible nightmare.
He sighed in misery. Mr. Water Ratty enveloped his arms lovingly around the poor extinguished Mr. Toad with always a fiery spark of enthusiasm smoldering away in his red vampire eyes. He knew he had a fascination for vampires and even had assumed his fairy mansion Juliana possessed a secret tunnel and a secret trap door to enter inside it that his dear great-great-great-grand-uncle, Mr. Juliana Little Toad, had fully stocked with food, rations, arms and ammunition. A secret passage hideaway with a bomb-proof bunker fully made of steel and iron. Nobody had ever known about. He had it in a scroll map showing its exact location, which he always kept hidden in one of his bedroom chambers. Though never had tried himself to discover it, he went on to say,
Till the two-headed hammer became one, the symbol encrypted on it which read, It shall pave path for immortalizing great-great-great-grand-uncle Mr. Juliana Little Toad. The two-headed hammer used for destruction, protection and fertilization on the mountain of Mars, linking destiny by a battlefield of bloodshed, even if it meant violence for obtaining its title of honor and rightfully possession of property as a symbol of sacrificial inversion and manual labor to light a torch in the darkness.
Then, having the ball in his coat, Mr. Toady emphasized what he had to say were valuable words of wisdom worth 500,000 bucks, supposed to sit like a white elephant in a museum, withstanding moral decay through a fast-moving space travel time machine. And something was needed to be done in order to put the two-headed hammer symbol the scroll map depicted into action, to unravel its ancient wisdom and obtain his rightful title and possession back, that the brilliant vampire great-great-great-grand Toad in his Juliana mansion, Museum Lacey, left behind his heirs to accomplish. The colorful story of a bear eating the bull in a vicious battle and winning title, as well as immortalizing the king, that he explained put together all pieces of a great puzzle. That is why he felt his great-great-great-grand-uncle was so much like a vampire toad. If only he could show his fangs to those crooked officers' toads, grimy weasels, camouflage lizards and snarling chef of police hound Baskerville, who made his life hellish. At the misery Geol, he concluded to Mr. Water Ratty, "Victory is ours to conquer," and began singing the beautiful song. He opened from Mr. Water Ratty's parish hymnal book of his neat little library, ceremoniously flipping through the middle pages of the little hymnal, page 207.
Page 207. The victory is ours by Davis, verse 1. There's a war going on in the heaven lies, between the powers of darkness and light, but through our worship we will be victorious. His word has promised that we win the fight. Chorus 1. Put your foot on the head of the devil, clap your hands, lift a triumphant shout. Greater is he that living within us, the victory is ours. Verse 2. Faith is our shield, our breastplate is righteousness, the word of God, our two-edged sword. We are clothed in power that renders hell powerless. We overcome through the name of the Lord. Preach. Put your foot on the head of the devil. Clap your hands, lift a triumphant shout. Greater is he that's living within us. The victory is ours. Victory, victory. Through Jesus' name we have victory. Victory, victory. Through Jesus' name we have victory. Chorus 2. Put your foot on the head of the devil. Clap your hands, lift a triumphant shout. Greater is he that's living within us. Ending. The victory is ours. The victory is ours. Hallelujah. The victory is ours.
Then he added with a fiery spark in his eyes, My dear friend Water Ratty, I do hope Mr. Badger and Mr. Molly come up with some honorable solutions, or I shall have to use powers that goes beyond reasoning of my ancient great-great-great-grand vampire toad, Mr. Juliana Little Toad's secret magic tunnel way to lead us inside this depravity of being possessed by demonic wild foot creatures and sly vixens and foxes, hoping to cure their evil propensities by thinking they own the mansion themselves. Prophecy or curse with my crystal ball of luck, a spell to cast for them by me, with my wretched fangs. And he opened wide his mouth, snarling and swearing below his breath, to show those fangs at last that frightened poor Mr. Molly, who had already arrived just in time, Water Ratty's whole end, to give them company, raising hairs on his fur coat and giving him goosebumps all over. Terrified him to the very core. There were 4 shiny fangs, right at each side of his malevolent grin, up and down his blood-curdling mouth. As he never did reform a humorous bone, he always had them from childhood, and was proud of his sharpened fangs to go with witty repartee, a quick mind as well as splendid gift of gab, like a reincarnation of reformed Mr. Juliana Little Toady. Soon there was a knock on the door. Mr. Water Ratty knew Mr. Badger had arrived. Mr. Badger dumbstruck upon seeing the appearance of Mr. Toady. He didn't believe was true at first or imagined it was a ghost. Christmas ghost of a Christmas Carroll, of great-great-great-grand Mr. Juliana Little Toad, come into sight before his wide popping eyes and rubbing them vigorously as if in a dream. He pinched himself and cried out ecstatically,
It's Mr. Toady!
Mr. Toady shrieked back at him, Oh dear, dear Mr. Badger, I'm home at last. For all my shenanigans and mischief, forgive me, all my dear friends. They cuddling the crook, exchanging their warm, kind verbal joy of squeals, shrills, whistles and vigorous handshake. Physical tremors and quakes of cuddles again and again, of happy reunion. They heard the full story right from the beginning. Mr. Badger as well as Mr. Molly, holding on to their breath, heard everything Mr. Toady had to say, all about the secret passage leading to the mansion, the secret trapdoor. Whilst Mr. Badger made him comfortable in his simple stacks, blue gumboots and overcoat, and sat down on the armchair in serious contemplation, removing his newspaper and huge spectacles to read through it and the headlines.
Mr. Toady escapes!
Thinking seriously at the same time. How were they going to fight 4 against so many vicious hooligans and conniving hoodlums? Whilst Mr. Molly made deductions hoping to come out with some superb idea, and after seeing the natty fancy dress of the washerwoman hanging on the door, he came up with one brilliant solution to the problem. In his head, like a light bulb flashed all at once. Without containing himself, spilled it out, his conniving plan to outwit the wrongdoers, dressed up in Mr. Toady's washerwoman outfit, sneaking up to steal Mr. Toady's great-great-great-grand-uncle's secret 2-headed hammer, map of the underground hidden tunnel, the only way to enter the Juliana mansion. That he quickly hammered out a speech to his friends like Speedy Gonzales, a famous cowboy rat song he first sang.
It was moonlit night in old Mexico. I walked alone between some old adobe haciendas. Suddenly, I heard the plaintive cry of a young Mexican rat girl.
You better come home, Speedy Gonzales. Away from tannery now. Stop all you're a-drinking with that floozy named Flo. Come on home to your adobe and slap some mud off the wall. The roof is leaking like a strainer. There's loads of roaches in the hole. Speedy Gonzales, why don't you come home? Speedy Gonzales, How come you leave me all alone?
Hey Rosetta, I have to go shopping downtown for my mother. She needs some tortillas and chili peppers. Your doggy's gonna have a puppy and we're running out of Coke. No enchiladas in the icebox and the television's broke. I saw some lipstick on your sweatshirt. I smelled some perfume in your ear. Well, if you're gonna keep on messing, don't bring your business back here.
Speedy Gonzales. Speedy Gonzales, why don't you come home? Speedy Gonzales. Speedy Gonzales, how come you leave me all alone?
Hey Rosetta, come quick! Down at the cantina, they're giving green stamps with tequila.
Caught in the heat of the moment, pepped up with excitement and passion after singing the Ranger or Rancher Rat Cowboy song, Mr. Molly, like a busybody mole of a meddlesome actor rat boy, animating his great master plan with a gunshot and a blow of breath off his make-believe pistol, started to talk the well-devised agenda to play role of four stooges of slapstick comedy as a washerwoman and his friends Mr. Badger, Mr. Toad and Mr. Water Ratty following close behind.
The very next morning, as early as the crows wake up, I shall dress up as the washerwoman that Mr. Toad dressed up as in the first place, whilst you follow behind me.
Then pointing to the costume of the washerwoman hanging from the hooks on the clothes hanger, he continued to explain to his friends, who listened rapt all ears.
Then knock on the door of the Toad Hall mansion, telling them there about the rumor that all the wildwood creatures, along with Toady, had a master plan to seize the Juliana mansion once again. To the few handful sly wildwood creatures that illegally camped over there would be shocked and stupefied at the outcome of my plan. For I am going to traumatize them out their blooming wits till they fry in a pan, tremble and quiver, shake in their pants, saying that Mr. Toady has 50 toads. 50 moles, 50 badgers, and 50 toads, weasels, ferrets, mice in an army to beat you all at once. Be prepared, do or die. At the same time, I would steal the secret map from Mr. Toady's master bedroom, the one which Toady said had the route of the hidden underground tunnel to the Juliana mansion trapdoor.
Mr. Molly was 100% sure this rumor he made up would rattle them up like a poisonous venom, whilst the rotten scoundrels let him take care of the job, dressed as a common washerwoman. Come to wash their dirty linen would shake them to their roots and foundation, make them tremble at their knees and buckle them up for war. Then late at night they could take the en route with many of the devoted and helpful creatures of the wild woods, with the help of the stolen map of the hidden underground tunnel, armed with all their weapons and those stashed away in his great-great-great-grand-uncle's secret hideaway passage. Mr. Badger, Mr. Water Ratty, Mr. Molly and Mr. Toady chinked their glasses together and chorused together, joining one foot of a rat, toad, mole and badger, like a lucky pirate rat-ratatouille's footprints ring of charm that they invented in one of their wildwood games inside a magic ring of fairy mushrooms.
Here to our magic footprints good luck charm, and Mr. Molly's encounter with the sly foxes, the badgers, vixens, toads, weasels, ferrets and mice, as a commoner, Molly washerwoman, to steal our treasured map of the hidden tunnel.
Boo, doom and gloom to those unlucky scoundrels who betrayed you, their dear friend Mr. Toad.
Mr. Molly ended the conversation, and the four were thick as thieves' best friends had a good night's rest in Mr. Water Ratty's whole end. Soon morning dawned, the sparrows twittered up the whispering willow trees, the crows lit the sky like a match, like a tinder strikes, with their caw-caws and cack-cacks. Mr. Molly as planned dressed up in Mr. Toady's washerwoman dress and flowery apron with a black hood, black mittens and a colorful scarf, set out on his foreboding mission. whilst Mr. Badger, Mr. Toady and Mr. Water Ratty followed closely behind him, enacting the 4 comic stooges of slapstick comedy, hiding among the thickets set to light the Toad Hall mansion on fire. Mr. Molly made his way to the steps of Juliana Mansion, as stout-hearted as ever. Anything would he do for his dear friend Mr. Toad. Ringing the doorbell with the same pleasant bring, brang, bring, only now knowing well the eerie dangerous creatures who thought they owned the dear mansion of Mr. Toad forever and refused to budge out made him jittery and sent a shiver tingling through his spine, but hoping dearly not to miss this excellent opportunity to get the secret map of the hidden passage. Mr. Molly put on a swell act, whilst Mr. Badger and Mr. Molly watched from afar inside the hidden bushes. Mr. Molly told the dumb, believing Toad who attended the door.
It's me, a washerwoman. Any dirty linen to wash? I do all the laundry and ironing, and even secrets of dirty linen I wash.
He led her to inside the silenced, haunting mansion. Mr. Molly knew the way right through and happily took the staircase to Mr. Toadie's master bedroom. There was a bathroom there and the secret map inside his drawer. In the stupid Toad's absence, she closed the door behind him and secretly rejoiced, opening the drawer and robbing Mr. Toadie's great-great-great-grand-uncle little Juliana's precious map. Then putting it inside her large apron pockets, made a washing and wringing noise inside the bathroom, beating with washing baton the dirty linen that the dumb Toad had handed to her, pouring and splashing out buckets of water. She put the soggy clothes back inside the bucket and came trip-tropping down the stairway to hang the laundry out to dry on the line. Then before she could leave, she commented to one of the high and dry, mean and mighty foxes and ferrets, riding on their high horses. Also to one of the weasel and sly vixen, washing out their ears with the rumor she had heard about. Mr. Molly went on to say to the scoundrels, hoping to shock them like a bunch of shocking pansies and back off like those blooming violet shies. Those Mr. Willy-nillys, as she was proudly showing off to them.
I heard the rumor that Mr. Toady has 50 toads, 50 moles, 50 badgers, and 50 stoats, weasels, ferrets, mice, and an army in order to beat you all at once and reclaim Toad Hall Mansion back again. Be prepared. Do or die. Good luck to you, my friends.
Then swaying hips like a fidgety old natterjack mole washerwoman of impersonation, she left the Toad Hall Mansion, turning a mole into a mountain or paving a molehill out of a mountain. For the 4 comic stooges of slapstick comedy, a mountain of a molehill indeed to start off with their next march through the Juliana Tunnel, of course. Victory in Juliana Mansion. Through the secret passage, return of a licensed vampire, Mr. Toad, little Juliana. As soon as Mr. Molly joined Mr. Badger, Mr. Water Ratty and Mr. Toady, they quietly made their way through the leering and back towards Mr. Water Ratty's hole end. Whilst on the way out, they heard a buzz and murmur of voices, as if the bad eggs were scared to the core by the rumor they all witnessed to hear, and were half their minds to run far away from the Juliana Mansion. So the 3 friends secretly watched and waited. From afar, the lights still shone inside the mansion. The intruders weren't going to vacate the place or give up so soon. War and victory, do or die, was on the mind of Mr. Toad, Mr. Badger, Mr. Water Ratty and the sly foxes, vixens, toads, ferrets, mice, weasels who had strayed from their path and took to conquer the great-great-great-grand vampire's empire, till it was the return of the licensed vampire Toad, little Juliana, the secret of the 2-headed hammer that was going to be unraveled to pave way for them to defeat the nemesis and hail victory, till the 2-headed hammer became one. The rest trusted creatures of the wildwoods assembled together for a meeting somewhere deep in the heart of a cave. Mr. Badger's 50 badgers, Mr. Molly's 50 moles, Mr. Water Ratty's 50 water rats, and Mr. Toady's 50 vampire toads, along with 50 a few many good honest stoats, weasels, ferrets, field mice, beavers and rabbits, all in the heart of the cove, where Mr. Toady confessed to his dear friends who had acted like a rash, immature, impractical and stupid creature. But now he was changed and would henceforth put his money to better use for reforms in the forest and uplifting the downtrodden. He would implement some handy plans like housing, comfortable prison cells, and horse trader gypsies to look after his horses and farms. Even washerwomen would have jobs at the mansions of all his uppity class friends of the wild woods, which after the mortal combat he would put into action. The army of woodland creatures, happy with what was said, cheered for Mr. Toady, the dear, rich and benevolent friend, whispering and murmuring amongst themselves.
Hurrah! Hurrah! Our Mr. Toad of Juliana will win back his mansion again. Return of the Ulysses vampire, Toad little Juliana, and its two-headed hammer. Hurrah! Hurrah!
Soon Mr. Toad opened the scroll of the secret map. The two-headed hammer pointed to an opening in the ground near the whispering willow tree to the west of the courtyard. To understand this concept, just consider one motion, which is Earth's spin on its axis. Hot, warm, not in the least a cold dead end, in search of a hot and cold game. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. An optimist with his cup full would never stray from his path, finding its treasured spot down below a hole, as one who believeth in God is seldom left guessing his true path to perfection, and to the gates of heaven for all righteous as the wondrous beatitudes on their pilgrim journey. There was a secret hatch door and a passageway to a hidden tunnel that led the way right up to the Juliana mansion. The creatures of the wild woods brought out all the arms and ammunition they possessed and stacked them up in a neat pile. Then using bells they hung all their weapons from a hook, a truncheon, cutlass, revolver, even maybe a rifle, spear, stick or a pistol, and decided to set out to the secret passage in the middle of night. Till then they briefed all the rest. Those without ammunition would be armed with weapons they found inside the hidden tunnel, which was supposed to be stacked fully with equipment and ammunitions. Soon time ticked by quickly, and the owls began to hootenanny.
Two wit, two hoots. It's 2 a.m. and the wildwood seems so dead. I would like to go to bed. Better be prudent. What lies ahead? Two wit, two hoots.
Then they quietly and stealthily began to march their way through the deafening silence of the dense thicket and towards the whispering willow tree to the west of the courtyard of Juliana Mansion. On tiptoes, trip-trop, trip-it-trip-trop, they marched. Once Mr. Toady behind, Mr. Badger surprised him with a nudge. Mr. Badger was so unnerved and thought they were being attacked from behind. He was ready to put the bullet right through Mr. Toady's poor head.
Silence!
He told Mr. Toad and warned the others.
Any disturbance now from you or anybody else will not be allowed in with us.
Mr. Toad was shaken up so badly that he made no sound and marched behind his friends and the faithful soldiers behind him. The trustworthy creatures of the wildwood, one by one they dropped into the hole of the secret tunnel. As they opened the latch above it, saw that the great tunnel below was filled with lamps overhead, which they lit up with their fire sticks, like torch lamps of a marathon race. And each who hadn't any weapons collected the equipment stashed away in its nooks and crannies. At first it was dark as a dungeon hole, but with the torchlights lit up, revealed marvelously clean and beautifully built bomb-proof bunkers without a single flaw. It had steel bed bunks, tables and chairs, which great-great-great-grand-uncle Juliana, little Toad, had taken great pains and measures in making perfect to the point of iron grit, iron fangs and steely gauntlets of an iron vampire toad knight's iron bunker, made fully of solid iron and steels. in case of floods or any sort of battles that would evolve, as if he predicted in advance the enemies, the sly foxes and beavers, stoats and ferrets. All intruders who had occupied Juliana Mansion illegally and with their burning lamps lit with fire and tinder matches soon made their way through the endless tunnel, finally reaching the spot at the other end of the narrow long tunnel, then lifted each another shoulder to shoulder to enter into the Juliana Mansion. First it was Mr. Badger, then Mr. Molly, then Mr. Water Ratty, and then Mr. Toady, and last but not the least were the remaining innocent creatures of the woodland: stoats, weasel, badger, hares, rabbits, ferrets, mice, moles, water rats, and vampire toads in great numbers, all armed with their weapons and equipments, and those they found inside the secret tunnel, for some who hadn't any, now hung from their belts and lifting up their batons from their hooks to pound crooks. They were already in the dark wine cellar of the castle of the Count Toad. Soon they heard noises of feet pattering down the steps. It was the sly fox, come to take one of Mr. Toady's fine bourbon whiskies, armed with the rifle. However, upon seeing the army of soldiers in the lamp-lit cellar, he panicked, and before he could make good his way out, he was given a sound pounding on his head till he lay numb and senseless. They marched upstairs, knowing the sly foxes, beavers, toads, vixens, ferrets, mices, and others who captured the place would be armed and dangerous. Though they shivered and were on their tenterhooks, mustered up courage to face the crooks bravely and smartly, outdo them and send them out packing their lugs and luggages, bags and hamages, making right the damages. They were resolute, firm, and optimistic, for there were many against the 70 crooks in Juliana Mansion to carry forth the two-headed hammer mission into one, whilst their deadly rivals, those conniving foes, vixens, toads, ferrets, mice, and sly foxes, had purposely put out lights of the mansion in order to befuddle them waiting in the dark to pounce upon the stout-hearted soldiers. But they really didn't know what happened in the pitch-black room of the hallways and staircases, with sticks and stones, with rifles and shots, with pummels and smashing, swinging and belaboring, victory on its way. Mr. Toady and his Avenger battalion shook the 70 crooks asunder without hurting a single hair on their heads, for they made out the scoundrels at once, as all of Mr. Toady's soldiers had worn neon vampire bat masks in order to distinguish themselves from the rest, like a masquerade soldier battalion, whose smart thinking was by Toady himself, suggesting such a splendid idea as that they flickered in the dark like dancing fireflies, exultantly singing the team anthems whilst swinging their maces and clobbers, shots from rifles and revolvers, pistols and guns, spears, cutlasses, and daggers from their holsters and belts. At last, the remaining nasty creatures, I mean the enemies, packed themselves out for a good run through the courtyard and back into the wild woods, never to be seen. Again, Mr. Toad was victorious and sang a jubilant song of victory. Return of Eliza's victory. Today I've told whole Juliana Mansion with all my vampire army. I've won, I have won! At last the battle return of the Eliza's vampire Toad little Juliana, through my great-great-great-grand-uncle Juliana little Toady's mystery tunnel and trapdoor. I've won, I have won, I have won! With our neon bat masks and masquerade party of combat soldiers, now to the doors from pillar to post, and church bells on top of belfries, surmounting all obstacles and hurdles to span and delve the mystery of the two-headed hammer into one. That great-great-great-grand-uncle Juliana, little Toad, hammered and pound, will I go forth now bravely, bold and brashly, but shining like a diamond in the rough, steely vampire night Toad, to meet my love, pulling an ace up my sleeve, to show all my love cards of hearts at once, before my vampire Toadess, lovelorn Dotty Grimwald, who waited so sadly and faithfully for me all these years of woe begone. Misery, now I shall have her hand in marriage at last, daughter of the Baron and Baroness and Countess bride of Count Toad of Juliana, Toad Hall Mansion, fetching her like a toad prince, her holy scepter and golden globe ball. under the moonshine and panoply of silver stars, making her dreams come true at last. And the two-headed hammer becomes one. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Return of Ulysses' victory.
Hooray! Hooray!
Cheered good old Badger, Water Ratty, Molly and rest of the vampire bat soldiers of the wild wood critters with their masks and masquerade in the magical mystical woods of the whispering willows.
Few points to ponder. Those wonder words of wisdom yonder, like old is treasured gold, where whispering willows behold secrets of wild woods unfold, the magical hour that the golden globes brings into power. Deep blue sea, deep blue sea in the land of magic, you bring peace and love, you shine stars and planets in your reflecting waves of sheen and shimmery gloss. Deep blue sea in the land of magic, over the horizon my boat sails yon, to reach the Isles of 8 Beatitudes, where the Lord shall bless each one, hoping to win our losses with gladness and sail with our oars back to the land of magic, as we remember not one forgot by the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. When Adam delved and Eve span, who was then the gentleman? From the beginning, all men by nature were created alike, and our bondage or servitude came in by the unjust oppression of naughty men. For if God would have had any bondmen from the beginning, he would have appointed who should be bond and who free. And therefore I exhort you to consider that now the time is come appointed to us by God, in which ye may, if ye will, cast off the yoke of bondage and recover liberty. John Ball.
The solemn blessings, beatitudinous benedictions which mark the opening of the Sermon on the Mount, the very first of our Lord's sermons in the Gospel of St. Matthew. The text of St. Matthew runs as follows: Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Verse 3. Blessed are the meek, for they shall possess the land. Verse 4. Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Verse 5. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after justice, for they shall have their fill. Verse 6. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Verse 7. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they shall see God. Verse 8. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Verse 9. Blessed are they that suffer persecution for justice' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Verse 10.
The end.